Hello.
Well, hello. It is 6 o'clock Central European time, and we are back from the global main stage. So welcome back, Dutch chapter on the Work Life channel. And now we have a very interesting story going from MVP to a platform. And we have Justin Carton, Bas, I want to say Boeing, and
Yes.
Eric Jan Bijvank. My name is Chris Parker. I'm the host. I will leave it to these fine gentlemen to share their story, and I'll be in the background helping out with videos and if anything goes wrong. So, gentlemen, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks a lot for inviting us. My name is Justin. I'm the founder, co-founder of Scopic. With me is Bas Boeing, the initiator of this project, and Erik Jan Bijvank, the moderator actually of the project. We call this from MVP to a platform. The reason why is because Scopic is a virtual reality studio. We have been producing a lot of VR content for the last 6-7 years. Always making prototypes, but for the first time actually we got something now which is more sustainable, and hopefully we can share something that is useful for you guys. I will go on to the next page where we can introduce ourselves. So Bas, please tell me who you are and what you do.
I'm Bas Boeing, police officer in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and project lead of the racial profiling debate and how we tackle that.
Jan,
you want me to elaborate? Do you want me to elaborate more, or that's?
No, I think we will get more into that later.
Sure.
Yeah, just a very brief introduction. Erik Jan, and entrepreneur in Amsterdam, working together with Justin and Bas, that are always behind the scenes supporting the guys. That's it.
So by myself. So like I said before, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been making content for a long time. I started my career at a video production company after as an intern, because I studied economics. But after finishing my degree, I realized that I didn't follow my heart, so I quit my job and I started as an intern at a video production company and learned how to film, how to edit. And from that point, actually, I fell in love with making content. Then in 2013, we discovered the Oculus Rift DK1. Probably you guys, I have no clue actually who's watching now, but I guess we got some students. I don't know, maybe somebody can tell me, but I guess we got some students listening who are into tech, so they probably know the Oculus Rift DK1. And in 2013, we discovered that we could easily, or quite easily and pragmatically, make VR content, and that's what we did. I will tell you a little bit about Scopic as a company. So we discovered this goggle. Again, I quit my job and I went to start Scopic to start producing VR content. I will tell you a little bit. The agenda of today. First of all, I'm going to tell you something about Scopic, what we do, and where we come from. Then we're going to talk about our interactive VR training tool that we are making now for the police. And then later on, hopefully, we can answer some questions you guys have, and maybe some suggestions or maybe some tips. Who knows? Like I said before, Scopic, my background is film. So we made a lot of 360 videos the last couple of years. Always linear content, or most of it. So from A to C. The photo that you see now is one of my favorite shoots, besides, of course, the police project, which we shot in Uganda. It was quite a challenging project, as we had to set up several green screen studios in Uganda. As you can see on the photo, there is some lightning and some generators, and every lamp had its own generator. But how it goes in Africa, it doesn't always work as you want that it works. So it was quite a challenge to create the perfect green screen studio, but it was an amazing project. The concept was there were two rival warriors who wanted to meet each other in virtual reality, and hopefully we could create some empathy between those two. They're like what we do now with the police, but yeah, quite a different angle, of course. If you want to know more about it, you can check out the website. It's called meetthesoldier.com, and you can check it out. And if you want to see it in VR, let me know. I can send you a link. Briefly, some highlights that I think is very important as a company. That was for us important as a company. We were lucky enough to be pushed by Google in 2015. We made an VR after movie for Tomorrowland, a festival in Belgium. And we were literally the first with 5 other videos, 360 videos on the YouTube 360 video platform. And when you're being pushed by Google, I can tell you then, yeah, kind of magic happens. Later on, we were yeah, honored to be nominated for a Gouden Kalf Award. That's quite famous in the Netherlands, probably not for non-Dutch people. They probably don't know what it is, but for the Meet the Soldier project. And this year we were nominated for a Webby Award for the police project, which was quite unexpected, to be very honest. First of all, because it was COVID-19. The project died more or less, for my feeling, and all of a sudden we had a nomination, and it relived the whole project. Then I got some small projects I want to share with you, and then we go on to the topic we are all here for. We did a scientific research. Actually, it was the first project we did ever for Scopic. We had to get a funding, or how do you say that? We had a grant, and to get this grant, we needed to have a Chamber of Commerce number. So that's the moment that we went officially a company. It was for a friend of mine who was working for NSCR. It's a criminology department of the University of Amsterdam. And what we did there was we created a bar fight scenario. Why? Because normally he told me, when you do scientific research, you have like a paper or a story that you read, and then you ask some questions, and those questions become data. But he told me it would be very interesting for him if we could simulate this scenario in VR, and instead of reading it, you could experience it. So that's what we did. Then we did an interesting production for Viacom. We created content for an interactive website. Viacom has some sort of a Netflix platform. It's called Epics, and they had a promotional website for a new series. But instead of like having an advertisement on television, they decided to make a little mini game. So instead of having this advertisement, you could play within the series by playing this game online, and you could check out the characters and the scenes and whatsoever. And then the last one I want to share with you is what we made for Jimmy Nelson. This is a photographer. He makes photos from tribes all over the world. He had quite a famous book called Before They Pass Away. But he had been criticized by it because they told him that the photos that he made were fake. They were not real. They were too beautiful. So he had the idea, you know what? If I make those photos and I make 360 footage of the moment that I make the photo, then people can see how I create these photos. That's what we did. But then we had to make a way to connect the 360 footage with his book. So we came up with the idea to make all the photos scannable with your mobile phone. Which we did in collaboration with Erik Jan Bijvank and his digital team. So when you scan the photo, you could pop up content behind the photo, like VR or normal audio or different story. But Chris, maybe you can start video 1 so we can see how it works.
Welcome to the introduction of how to use the app for Jimmy Nelson's book, Homage to Humanity. To get started, download the free Jimmy Nelson app, available both on iOS and Android devices. Once downloaded, you can scan your smartphone over every single image in the book, and that will activate exclusive video content which gives a far greater insight into the images. Once you've scanned 1/3 of the images in each chapter with your smartphone, you will then gain access to exclusive virtual reality footage, which can be watched with or without the goggles provided with the book. Whilst you're scanning the book with your smartphone, you will be able to keep track of your progress and always see which pictures are still to be opened. And this journey doesn't stop here. Wherever you see a picture displayed from Homage to Humanity, it will always be scannable with your smartphone.
Chris? Oh.
Sorry, I'm figuring it out.
Hello? Are we back again?
Almost. There we go. I'm looking for your desktop now. I think your desktop has a video on it.
Yeah, that's true. Can you see it though?
There we go. Okay.
So yeah, that was the Jim Nelson application, and what I really like about this project is that we made content interactive, and without only sending content, can also interact with it. And that's also what I think is very interesting about the police project. But enough of that. Let's go to the software. In collaboration with Bas, we produced this video, and I think after we played this video, I think we can talk more into depth about what we made, how we did it, and what will be the future. So Chris, if you can play this video, then.
We gaan het hebben over etnisch profileren.
Etnisch profileren.
Voor wat? Dat ik in de auto zat?
Het kan zijn dat je een melding krijgt en dat er wordt gesproken over een donkere man. Dan zit er een donkere man in de tram. Maar ik weet hoe hij zich voelt, want ik heb ook heel vaak aan de andere kant gestaan.
Ja, jarenlang was het de vraag of etnisch profileren plaatsvindt. Inmiddels weten we dat het gebeurt. We hebben met VR in het verleden een test gedaan en dat was een groot succes. En om die reden zijn we met Scopik en met Vonk en de Universiteit van Twente aan de slag gegaan. We hebben ons bij het bouwen van de training laten inspireren door een interactieve aflevering van de populaire Netflix-serie Black Mirror, waarbij je als kijker zelf je keuzes maakt.
Mensen krijgen een situatie voorgeschoteld, een verhaal dat zich gewoon steeds verder ontwikkelt. En op cruciale momenten in dat verhaal, dan krijg je opeens de keuze om bijvoorbeeld iemand aan te spreken of om iemand te fouilleren. De keuze moet je binnen een paar seconden maken.
Wat moeten we nu gaan doen?
Wat moeten we nu gaan doen? Wat moeten we nu gaan doen?
De man heeft niks te doen in zijn leven, man. Wat gaat hij nou doen?
Het echt interessante van dit project is de mogelijkheid dat je mensen in de schoenen kan zetten van een subject. Dus je kan in dit geval de politieagent laten ervaren hoe het is om etnisch geprofileerd te worden.
Weet je, ik ben het zat. Je bent aangehouden voor belediging, je gaat gewoon met mij mee.
What the fuck, man? Hey, raak hem niet aan, man. Laat hem los.
Met deze training proberen we politieagenten meer bewust te maken van hun handel op straat. Het is belangrijk dat zij selecteren op basis van afwijkend gedrag. En niet op basis van afwijkende kenmerken zoals kleding, leeftijd en huidskleur.
Well, there was an outstanding camera performance, of course, of Bas. Finally, you can jump into the conversation because it will be a relief for me. Let's open the conversation, Bas. This is an interactive VR training we made for you. Can you maybe tell me something more about the reason why you started this project?
Well, the reason, Justin, is that what we experience is that police officers find it very difficult to talk about this issue, and that has to do with multiple facts. One primarily is that it's sort of it's inconsistent with our self-image. And therefore it's very concerning if somebody calls us a racist. Police officers who are very identified with their job, that really harms them and that causes some sort of defense reaction. So most of the reactions we see is that people are denying it is actually a problem. They are nuancing the issue, but they are also they also find other ways to get rid of it. So what we see is that many policy measures that we initiated in the past, they are not being properly done. They are not getting implemented. So we were trying to find other ways to get to them, to design something that police officers find interesting and find really fun to do. And this is actually one of the things, is that a lot of police officers like, in fact, to do something with VR. Many of them are not familiar with it, so it's the first time that they actually experience a VR video.
Uh-huh.
And then what you just saw in the video, it's the interactive element. That's something that they really like. The simulation is very real to them. We also made it with police officers, so they were also the ones that were involved in the script stadium. So it's very real, and they make their own selections, and depending on what kind of selection, they also make the choices how they are going to deal with this situation. Are they going to escalate it, or are they going to downsize it? They can choose between different powers that they have, ID check, or maybe to search a person or to frisk the person.
I think it's also, we will go more into depth later, but maybe it's also nice to know, because you're obviously from the police. I never worked with the police before, so it is also something new for me and interesting to discover. But is it your first project that you do with technology, or is it something that you is it also something new for you?
Well, the interactive part is new to me. We have done VR in the past, but that was a linear process from A to Z. It was just a storyline. Police officers could actually see it and then respond to it. And what we realized was that they really liked the technology, but what they missed was the interactive element, but also to discuss the outcome with each other. So police officers they don't like trainings from behind a PC, from behind a computer. They don't like to read a book. They like to interact with each other and do it in a very practical manner.
Yeah, I hear it a lot, that many companies, but I think also the police they did a lot of e-learning projects, but nowadays they're a little bit sick and tired of those projects, right?
Because they're very static. So it's basically a Q&A, something that you can also do with hard copy papers, and they like to be they like the interactive part, and that's something that we created here.
All right. So just to so still my understanding of the people who are watching are students. So it might be also nice to know more or less how we created this tool, and how I started to talk with the police. First of all, I was just at an event, and I met one of your colleagues, and he told me about that you are working on a project. And I was there actually with a friend of mine, Jean-Louis van Gelder, who's now working at Max Planck Institute. And he told me, hey, Justin, you have to talk with him because, they're working on a project. And then it all started to roll, and then we had a meeting at the Marnixstraat police office, and you told me your ideas. And what I found interesting about this project is that it, normally when I do a VR project, I have like a client, he has an idea, and then we have to do it. You know, that's just how it is. Time for the first time, I had the feeling that we had some sort of a triangle. We had the practice part, you guys, the police. We had the scientific part, Jean-Louis Vergelder, who was also in the video. We previously worked with the University of Twente, now working at Max Planck. And we had Scopic, the studio, who could give it an extra sexy sauce, let's say, and implement it into a game engine. I found it very interesting. I think it was maybe a key factor why the product works very well. And you also told me something about that you think, Bas, that because of the tech and touch thing, it's a success at the police, right?
Yeah, tech and touch. It's really important to find a balance there. So police officers like both, clearly. They like tech, they like touch. But they don't like 100% tech. Because when the human factor is absent, there's no human factor, then it's really hard for them. Then they don't want to do anything with it. So we are trying to, and that's what we created here. I think we assembled something that has a little bit of both. So we show them the VR content, we let them play, but afterwards we get them to tell us the code that they receive at the end of the game. That code stands for the trial they have been walking. So maybe the choices that they have made. And then they can interact with each other in a very structural manner, in a way that we can actually discuss racial profiling, ethnic profiling, and that's the touch part.
Yeah, that's something that we will showcase later on as well, because we can see how police will react to the training. That's something was for me literally like an eye opener, because I made a lot of content, but for the first time in my life, when people took off the goggle, they're mostly amazed. They see something beautiful or interesting, but now they were really like still in their role of the game. They took it off like, you know, excusing themselves to me why they did something. I thought it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Hey, Bas, a quick question in between. You were just saying, like they can walk a path or have different path in the VR application. I think the movie explained a bit about this, but can you perhaps elaborate a bit on what that means?
Yeah. So basically, what we want is that police officers have probable cause. That's the first part. So we want them to make selections that are legit. That are in accordance of the law. That's the first part. So they need to make a selection in this video. They need to make a selection between a group of boys that are standing somewhere. They stick out a little bit, but they're not doing anything related to crime. So there's actually no pretext for police officers to stop and search or to stop and account these boys. It's basically it's an unconscious bias training. So when police officers are really focused on the boys, they are probably not seeing a man in their blind spot who is trying to sell drugs to people. So that's basically the first selection. And then in the other selections, so let's say I do see the man and I go for the man. Then there is a bunch of choices that I need to make, and that fall under the perspective of proper conduct. Because we, apart from probable cause, we also want to see proper conduct. That's they need to explain why they are stopping that person. They cannot use powers. They're not. They cannot make under the circumstances that are there. They need to communicate in a professional manner. That's what we expect from them. And if they don't make those choices and they don't abide by that, then they get a less favorable outcome. And that's what we discuss afterwards, after the training.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the training is actually consists of two parts. So it's the VR part and it's the face-to-face part afterwards, right?
basically what we say is that VR is not a medicine in this case to ethnic profiling, but it really helps us to get a proper constructive conversation about a very sensitive issue, namely racial profiling or ethnic profiling. So that's what it does. It's basically some sort of icebreaker to get the conversation going.
Cool. And it works.
Yeah, that's actually also
it really works. Yeah, 100%.
So to recap a little bit of what it is, if you should define the problem, how would you describe the problem within the police?
Problem is it's twofold basically. A lot of police officers, like humans, if you tell them, do you do racial profiling yourself or do you discriminate? Everybody does it. I do it. You do it. People who tell police is racist, they do it also, in all kinds of ways. So the first part is actually getting them to understand their biases, their own unconscious biases. That's what it does in the first place. What it also does is the realization that what they see, how they look to a situation, is maybe completely different from their colleagues. So they share the same uniform, they wear the same uniform, they are on the same job, they have the same experiences maybe, but it doesn't actually say that I see the same, and and based on what I see, I make the same decisions. And sometimes police think that they all act the same because they belong to the same group. So that's also a realization. That's also a problem that they don't realize that. So that's also something that the VR does. So I'm also talking about almost about the solution here, or about what it does. And then there's the problem. That's the second part. Actually, basically, is that there's a lot of resistance. That police officers, they don't want to talk about this issue. When I talk about when I drop the issue about racial profiling, so I tell police officers, come together. We are going to start a conversation about ethnic profiling. Most of them they don't want to talk about those because they have different perceptions and different experiences with that debate.
So the solution is quite obvious, or actually obvious. What I think is also interesting about the project, I remember for the first time that, so we made the content and then we had, I think, an innovation day. And it was actually the first time that I experienced the treatment, let's say, within a group. So there were 20 police officers in a room. You had 10 goggles. In pairs of 2, they would experience it. When they were done, they would, so one had like path A, one had path B. And then when they were both gone, they would have a discussion about what they experienced together. I think that's also maybe a nice bridge to the next video, where we showcase the reactions of several policemen that did the experience. And maybe let's just play the video so it will speak to it for itself. Chris, can you play the third video, please?
Surveillance bij een NS-station, vermoed ik, tenminste bij het station. Er staan een groep jongeren die staan daar lol te maken.
Bro, leg even uit wat er is gebeurd dan.
Voor mij geen dat ze restaurant feiten aan het doen waren.
Als je het die jongens zou vragen, hebben die het gevoel dat het een fijne ervaring met de politie was?
Waarom moet je ons weer aanspreken? Kijk hoeveel mensen er rondlopen.
Ik denk dat de jongeren nu met een beetje uitleg erbij dat de voorbijganger dat hinderlijk zou kunnen vinden. Dat de jongeren hier vrede mee hebben.
Er kwam wel een groep jongens langsgelopen. Er zat een jongen op een bankje. Dat heb ik ook niet eens gezien. En oh jeetje. Maar ja, ik zie die jongens daar staan en ja, daar ben ik naartoe gelopen.
In Amsterdam zijn heel veel van dat soort groepjes.
Ja, had zelf het idee nadat ik klaar was van, dat ging super. Toen ging ik denken van, wat heb ik gedaan? Ik heb natuurlijk die groep, dus ben ik nou ook aan het etnisch profileren? En vervolgens komt mijn collega iets vertellen wat zij gedaan heeft en dat zij nou net niet die groep heeft aangesproken.
Goeiedag heer, politie. Ik zie dat u hier verschillende mensen aanspreekt. Wat vraagt u die mensen?
Nee, ik vraag hem gewoon de weg.
Ik ben niet echt overtuigd van zijn verhaal. Jij wel?
Ja, ik heb een idee gevraagd, omdat we tijdens het gesprekje wat we met die persoon voerden, het idee hadden, dit zit niet helemaal pluis. En op basis daarvan gingen we ook vervolgens fouilleren en vonden we harddrugs. Maar feitelijk ging het eigenlijk al mis bij het vragen om een idee, want dat mocht niet. Vanuit mijn achtergrond wist ik dat niet meer of wist ik het niet. Dus dat zou ik de volgende keer anders doen.
Denk je dat het gaat helpen op straat?
Ja, absoluut.
Yeah, quite mind-blowing. It always feels like it's scripted and that we tell them what to say, but it's not. I was amazed by those reactions. Did you expect this, Bas, that it would work so well?
Honestly, yes, because this was actually what we anticipated, and why we also invested in this project. It's of course then it's really rewarding that we also see that some people immediately after the training starting to get aware of their biases. So like this lady, and also like maybe so the lady is instantly aware of their biases, and it goes also very smoothly. So she's not under a lot of pressure. She's not being attacked by her colleague who is asking her questions. It goes in a very very appreciative way. So she asks, "What have you done?" And while she explains this, she realizes, "Hey, this is not a very good reason. So what the arguments that I'm giving now are not very valid." And she starts to realize, and then she says, "Oh, am I also ethnic profiling?" And that's a really powerful image, and it really resonates well also with other police officers. And we see the same reactions everywhere, but sometimes it takes just a little bit, because there's also ego, there's also proudness, there's also sometimes the psychological safety is not really there in a group to admit that you have done maybe something wrong, or you would have done it differently. But then it comes a day or 2 days later. So eventually it will come. So it's good.
Yeah. Nice. You really plant a seed, and that's also what I really enjoyed seeing. Like people were discovering it themselves. They literally they discovered they made a mistake, and even if they didn't admit it, you saw in their eyes that they knew they were wrong. Beautiful.
So we've got some questions from the audience. So I think we were about to talk about that on this particular slide, but the question is, what was the process of making the VR training experience? Maybe we can elaborate a bit on that.
So how was the process, or what, so what was it like, or what, or more in detail, what was the process?
So what was the process, and then obviously we can also say what was it like. I think, yeah.
Well, may I, Justin?
Yeah, of course.
It's a good question. I'd like to answer it. So what we did is, it's a very inclusive process. So what we have done is that we assembled stories from people who had the experience of racial profiling on the one hand. So we had the more civilian side of the story, but then we also assemble police side of the story. So how would you interact? How would you do it? So first of all, we interviewed a lot of or a bunch of civilians and a bunch of police officers. And then we made the script together. I was very inspired, so to say, by a Netflix video, Black Mirror, from Black Mirror, Bandersnatch it's called. that's and that's how I got to the interactive part. And so the first. Basically, the first.
I can some names, and you can check.
Sorry.
One of them is not.
My bad.
Oh, there was something going through it. So we made these branches, all these different steps, these different choices. We made them together in a script, and then I planned a lot of conversation with Justin just to see whether I was wishing for whether that was also practical, whether he was also making to do it. And then we also included Fonk, so Erik Jan in the process to actually see how we could actually make this work. Then we filmed everything with the film crew, and then after we completed the filming.
Yeah, but what I also think of what was quite interesting is that, if I may interrupt, is that there was a quite straightforward idea to make an interactive game training within VR. So that the viewer can decide himself what to do. From my side as a content maker, it was very important to see, what already has been done. To be very honest with you, my father used to have a Philips CDI. It's from the 90s, so maybe some of the kids don't even know what it is, but it was an interactive CD. They more or less use the same technology that we are using at the moment, same as Bandersnatch and all the other interactive content on Netflix nowadays. And even if one of the first games are also made like this, so they literally branch videos and then you can play a game. So that actually was like that stood like a house. This is what we're going to use, and then we actually had to fine tune the game with the content we were going to make. So. I remember also we went to the station to make some test shots. We integrated it to the game. We checked out if it was working, what we had in mind. So we made a very small prototype of the event of the game that we were making at the end. It worked. We tweaked. We adjusted the script a little bit. What I think was also interesting concerning the process of making it, if that is the question, is that we were interfering the whole time in in the actual product by adjusting small little things. So it was a very natural process. We already had a prototype made by themselves. It worked, so we knew, okay, the subject works with this medium. Then we implemented some sort of a grammar to how we're going to make the content interactive. That worked as well. We validated it by having a pilot. And then we had the real footage. Then we also made an alpha release. So we checked it out. We worked. We are still adjusting some little things, right, Bas? We are now again coming up with a new update.
And we're still doing it.
We're still doing it. So the process of everything, like if I can make a recap, first of all, you have an idea, you write a script, you make a prototype, you make an alpha release. You retest it, and now finally we're going to publish it in the store.
Yeah. There's also another question about. Sorry.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But there's one more question from the audience because one of the previous slides we mentioned that there was practice, there was creativity or creation. Obviously, there's also the science, meaning the university, I guess. So in what way? What was the academic basis of this? Is the question.
Well, there are some tips and cues about how to get the immersive in a very proper way, and also to get the presence that you're actually there.
Yeah.
So we really benefited from the latest study from Jean-Louis van Gelder that he did for the Ministry of Justice Department. So we included those lessons there. There is also a tip, but frankly, that really didn't really turn out yet. Maybe in the future, but we still need to work on it. That's the change perspective thing. So from a science perspective, it turns out that it's a very effective learning methodology is to put people in the shoes of another. So what we try to do, and you also see that in the video, is that one of the boys is filming with his smartphone camera. So he's filming back, basically. So what we can do with certain outcomes, with certain choices, the paths that you walk, we can make you look back, so you can actually see yourself. You can see your own performance from the boy's perspective. And I tried it a few times, whereas police officers first thought these are boys that belong to a certain group, and they look from a distance from their own experiences, and they make a picture, and based on that picture they start a conversation with them. And then we show these police officers from the other perspective, from the boy's perspective. But we still have some. I still have some problems with showing that. That's we need to smoothen that process to actually do that, because so it's more a process thing than. But the science is there. The science is good, I think. But I don't have results yet, because I haven't properly put that into an analysis yet.
Yeah. Which is interesting as well. The data, the analysis part. So we maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. So we can see a lot, and do we also use that to improve or the product?
Yeah, what we do, but maybe Justin can tell more about it. Maybe from user perspective, Justin. Then I'll talk a little bit more about the other.
So what the goggle does, it saves all the user data. So how long a person takes to make a decision, where it looks, location, etc. We can extend. We can put everything in there that we want. So based on that data, we can improve the application. I think there's nothing new on that. It's, I guess, how many applications are being improved. But I think the most interesting part will be if we're going to combine this data with external data, and that's not my part. But of course, there's a huge political debate going on at the moment. There are, so I mean, that's also data that we can include in this analysis. And of course, our friend Jean-Louis Vergelder is also keep working on VR researches. So when he got new input, and he will have new input, I guess, soon, we will implement this data as well.
Yeah, it really has some potential. Also, from scientific perspective, is that we are trying to learn more about participation of police officers. So, what are the drivers? What are the motivators? Why do some police officers make certain selections, while other police officers make other kind of selections? And especially not only the data of their choices, but also how they communicate afterwards about this is very interesting information to assemble. We have to be careful though, because there's also a lot of political attention for this item. There's also a lot of media attention, and it's a very complicated issue. So we need to be very careful with the data, because it can be misinterpreted. And that's not something that we want. Our first priority is to teach police officers, to get them educated, to have good conversations, to get them more acquainted to the idea, and to get them more to make them participate more in these debates. That's our primary objective. And regarding to the data, we still need to see what's possible. We do need to do it in a very proper way, also in regard to privacy, etc. And we need to look into. We still need to look into it.
Any more questions on YouTube? Or shall we,
Sorry?
You got more questions, Erik Jan?
Yeah. So there's one came just now. So how scalable is this? Is there Can it be used in different lines of businesses, or can it be used within the police, but for different topics? What is your view on that, Bas?
Well, what we see now is that there's a lot of demand, or there are a lot of people that actually want this game.
Like this game as it is right now, or?
Yeah, so a lot of people want this. So how scalable is it? It is scalable, and now we also need to show that it's scalable. That's the process we are in now. So we are giving this training to a lot of police officers throughout whole the Netherlands now. But there are also other stakeholders. There are police in Germany, police in Belgium. They also want to play with this. But there are also other initiatives within the police. Think about shooting simulators that are very interesting as well. And in the near future, we would like to sum these two different projects. They're different now, but maybe in the near future they are not. I mean, we can altercate fire weapons. We can put motion detectors in it, and then we can also build scripts that has a branch where a situation escalates to a certain point that the police officer perhaps need to draw his weapon and maybe even shoot.
Like the bar fight project, for instance.
Well, I'm not acquainted with the bar fight, but maybe Justin can say something about it. But now we use the Oculus Go, so then you can actually, it's very static still, and with the Quest we can actually move around, and we can use sensors, for example, in our firearms.
Well, but what I think is super interesting about this project that we did and are doing. I've seen many VR titles, games, video, films, whatsoever. But I think because the first time actually I spoke to you, remember you told me I want to have a high-end VR experience.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go use volumetric video. Let's go, let's go all out. And you told me, yeah, but this is the budget. I said, okay. Well, then we have to go back to basic. But I think that actually was the reason why it became so successful. We are limited within the hardware that we can use and the production value that we can deliver, which makes it in a way super scalable, because the technique that we are using is quite accessible. And I think as well, to normally when you have like a super high-end 6 degrees of field VR application, then yeah, it's super difficult to scale it within an organization. But with this Go, like literally, it's like the flight simulator for soft skills training. You put it on your face, and I mean, Bas, you can tell me if it's right or wrong. But everybody who puts it in his face can play the game, and I think that's really what makes it.
It's very budget friendly. I mean, the Oculus Go that we use is it's only a couple of €100. So all police officers, I mean, we can buy more of those glasses, so we can also give more people that experience. So that's also me. I mean, police is also constrained a little bit budgetly, so things don't need to be too expensive. Otherwise, it will not be executed.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, we are already in the discussion with people from YouTube. Super nice. Is there anything else people want to discuss, Erik Jan?
Yeah. So there's a question: if data levels all arguments. So with data, you can define what the argument actually is, and either go with it or go against it. But so if that's the case, then how does the data help to train officers who really don't believe that they have an inappropriate bias. So are there people stubborn enough so for whom it will not work?
Yes,
have you encountered it yet?
of course. I mean, in any organization, in any civilization, there are people that are really stubborn. I mean, of course. I mean, they're everywhere. But what you see is that's really the power of the group. That's the touch thing. I mean, I think if we would do this only with tech, so only as a standalone VR game that they can do in their own time, in their own room without the interference of the group, then this project would not have the same outcome as it has now. It's
So
really the impact is really because of the group, because there are a lot of sensible police officers, actually. I mean, sometimes if you follow the media, I think we are all racist, but it's quite the other way. So there's a lot of there's a lot of power from the group also. So if because you are sharing the outcomes as a group together and you're discussing it, and then the group will actually correct the people that really stick out in different in different paths. Yeah. And sometimes it just takes a day for them to really realize what they have done, and maybe it takes a half a year. Maybe there are people that we cannot change. Of course, I mean, we really need to invest in these people then.
So so this is this particular thing is interactive VR training now is aimed at improving soft skills or starting a dialogue, I think. You were also mentioning more hard skills like perhaps aiming or how to deal with a situation. That is sort of a combination. For which sort of goal do you think it's most appropriate to use the VR tool in the police environment?
Well, I would not say it's a problem, but what we see in terms of training, police officers are being trained in hard skills mainly. So we are being taught how to shoot, how to apprehend people, how to talk to people, how to communicate, how to deal with different communication, different ethnic groups. Those things are being taught at the police academy, but afterwards, when you're going to your stations, when you're being assigned to a certain work spot, then you're there by yourself. So soft skills is not really something that police officers are really trained in. And there's really a market there.
And there's room to improve always, I think, right?
Exactly, and we can really prevent escalation with good communication skills. I mean, the debates, political debates, are really dominated by giving police officers more weapons and more hard skill trainings. But I think that's not really the answer. I think we can prevent a lot of bad things from training them in soft skills and have them to have good conversations.
Yeah, in the ideal situation, you would not have to use the tools other than. I think,
but that's not going to happen. That's not because sometimes.
Yeah.
But maybe in 50% or in I don't want to go for a percentage, but in a large portion of the cases, you can actually prevent a lot by just getting your soft skills right.
Yeah. So there's two interesting questions still. One is discusses the return on investment. So
that's not a student.
That's not a student. Well, maybe a finance student. Yeah. But so can you share with us some about that? So is it a very expensive project, and how does that relate to the outcome? Do you think it's if
you're doing it for a very small group, then no way. Well, maybe no way. maybe you break even. But if you're doing it for a large group, and then the scalability is a really interesting part in it. Then it becomes really worthwhile. Then because usually, how much euros are you spending for just an afternoon training with 10 police officers? So now we have something that we can actually do on ourselves, because the appointed discussion leaders are police officers. So what I do, I invest a little bit of my time. I work for the police, so that doesn't hurt. So I invest in them so they can actually do the conversation with the group. So it's like an oil spill. That's what we do, and it's just one investment. So I think the return of investment is great. Yeah.
And then there's another, I think, interesting question, but perhaps politically sensitive. Is do you think this would help the Black Lives Matters movement in the US?
I think honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because what you see, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Moral Tribes book from Joshua Green. That's a really hard, tough discussion on both sides. So you see people that have certain ideas on one side, and people that really believe in something and don't want to be convinced. You don't convince them. You don't reach to them, and that's on the civilization side. It's also on the police side. So that's a really tough one. And what we do is we are really trying to help people, or trying to help police officers. Really on how they should perform a legitimate and rightful and fair stop and search. That's what we do. So of course you can actually elaborate from that to other stand views and other world views, and to the acceptance that people can have different worldviews. So but that's not really the aim of this project.
No. Different level. Right, so we have till 18:59, so we still have 2 minutes. Are there any last thoughts that you would like to share with us, Justin or Bas? Regarding this project?
Well, I'm very happy. I mean, police has seen by their own eyes, police leadership has seen by their own eyes what this VR actually does to police officers. So on both sides. So what it does with responses, but also what it actually teaches them. And they're really convinced that it works. So we got a little bit more budget. So now we can extend it, and we can scale it up. So I'm really happy with that process and that change, the chance that we get now to make a change.
Yeah, cool, very nice. Justin.
What can I say? I think I'm very proud and honored to be on this project. Today we were at the police office to discuss the next subject. I will not say too much about it, but it's going to be a tough one. But if we literally can, help people within a situation, and even if it's one, then I'm a happy person. So I'm very lucky to be on a project like this.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Chris, back to you. You're on mute. Chris, you're on mute. Unmute.
Well, nobody was unmuting me. So really a pleasure. Bas, wonderful to meet you virtually. I know the other guys very well, and I think this project is not only interesting, but really meaningful. And I really appreciate your time, taking an hour out of your evening and all the preparation. So best of luck with the next initiatives, and thanks for sharing this with the community. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye.